Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And a very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Newsline Live. Now, Sri Lanka has been suffering, as we all know, from an economic crisis that kind of started back when COVID-19 took a hold of. But what we also must realize is that Sri Lanka's tourism industry, the leisure industry, took a severe beating. And hundreds of millions of dollars has been expended by entrepreneurs and corporates in that industry, employing thousands and thousands of people across our beautiful island. And it's no fun when something like Corona happened and our tourism, the bottom just fell out of it. And so to discuss this very important aspect of our economy, especially when there's a lack of US dollars, I thought I'd get on our program, and he's here, Mr. Quyn, who's a versatile hotelier most of his career, and he is, of course, the CEO of Fox Resorts. Fox Resorts, by the way, just for the record, is part and parcel of the Capital Maharaja Group. Very good evening to you, Chris, and welcome to Newsline Live.
Very good evening to you, Faraz, and thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm surprised that the operation is still alive and well. I don't know about well, but is it alive?
It is alive, and it is well for us at the moment.
Okay.
And we've done a lot of, marketing changes in order for us to stay alive.
Right.
But tourism as a whole, even before COVID, we had the Easter attack, which really ruined tourism for a long time, and then the Easter attack, and things have never got down to being normal. And every time we see some sort of a change happening and things coming back, and we try to get back on our feet, another thing happens. And the latest, of course, was the political situation that happened in the country, the state of emergency that was declared, travel advisories that were given by most countries so that people can't travel. And there was a lot of complications, and then at the moment tourism is really bad. I mean,
I noticed that in some of the hotels and so on, that and even restaurants, that there seems to be a lack of staff. What is that because? Because there's not enough numbers to be able to employ them, or is it that staff have sort of left and found opportunities elsewhere, maybe gone abroad?
See, if you look at the tourism industry, the entire industry, about 10% of our population is employed in the tourism industry, roughly about 2 million. That is directly and indirectly.
Right.
So directly, I would say, is about 400,000 by the hotels. Then you have the tour operators who have the transportation. So you have your tuk drivers, whether it's a tuk driver, van, car, whatever. Then you have your supplies of meats, vegetables, all that has to come into the hotel. They are indirectly linked. Then you have the people who sell stuff either on the beach or in their shops, by the hotels. So there is a massive amount of people who depend on tourism.
Right.
Now, over the last few months, you can see a lot of people leaving the industry, which is a huge problem for us. Because I think over the last 3 months, the tourism sector itself lost about at least 150,000 people out of the 400 that we have. So you're left with 250,000. See, many reasons. One is because the situation in the country, and all the young people don't want to stay here because they feel there's nothing, there is no future. And nobody can call and tell them there is a future. So absolutely nothing at the moment. It's number one. Number two, the man who was getting, we'll say, $1,000. Earlier it was, what, 2.5 lakhs? Was it 225? Now he's getting almost 375,000. The same man, because the dollar rate has changed. So he, in terms of money, he's getting more. So we have a problem more than, see, tourism. You have a new minister. He's got a brand ambassador, Sanat Jayasura. Those are good things. Nothing bad. Nothing bad for us.
Right.
I mean, it's good. He's new. The tourism minister, Harin Fernando, is new. So there's a time that he has to get involved in this and try to promote, which he's doing. He's gone to UK and various stuff. And he's trying to do this in India as well. That's one side of the story. look at the other side of the story. Look at the threshold on VAT. Earlier it was 300 million. If you had
so if your turnover was 300 million,
you paid 12%.
Right.
So the smaller people could survive because things were bad. If
right.
things were great, there's no problem because everybody needs to pay VAT.
Right.
There is no doubt about it. One of the downsides is because we didn't pay VAT and they get all these problems. One of it. However, the smaller people, the smaller hotels or the smaller restaurants who didn't pay this 300, who didn't come up to the 300 million, didn't have this threshold of the VAT. Now it's 120 million. So all of us now have to start paying VAT, right?
That's
and what
big.
is 15%?
Yeah.
So from the bigger players had 12, they go up to 15.
Yeah.
They'll say they manage it. For us, from 0 to 15%. From 0 to 15%. Can we increase our rates? No, we can't. How are you going to get this money from? If you are in the tourism industry, you will know that a lot of tour operators, the big operators, are contracted for a year. They do well in advance. They won't come and tell you tomorrow we are going to contract with a tour operator, and this tour operator will say, you know, I'm going to sign up from tomorrow. No, we are going to sign up for next year. So these are all previous contracts. If we go to change these rates, the tour operator rates, they're not going to accept it. This has happened before as well. It's very difficult for them to go back to their agent in Holland and say, you know, now there's a 15%, we need to change it by 15%. I'm sorry, they can't do it. So that's one side. So if we don't increase our rates, how are we going to pay the high cost of water, electricity, so on and so forth? Food prices are through the roof.
So what has the government done since COVID? What sort of percentage of GDP has been allocated?
So I'm coming to that. You see, there was a moratorium to the tourist industry for the loans they paid.
But the moratorium is just temporary.
Yeah, and it's interest against interest.
Yeah.
On top of one interest, now there's another interest, and I think that ends up in this end of this year.
Yeah.
So they'll have to restructure those loans because you're not going to have tourists overnight to come and for these hotels to be able to sort that out. So that is a problem that the industry. But what I was coming to is, if you have a tourism minister and you have a team of people and they're going around, which is good, also look at things like this. So if you do not increase your rates, how are you going to give your staff a basic increment, basic increment for them to survive when cost of living is so high? You're talking of basic increment. You're not talking of the guy who gets, you know, 30,000-40,000. How will he manage? If he can't give it, if we give him an increment, how will we survive? How will the small operators survive? If you give him an increment, we can't.
So, Chris, what do you want? What should the government be doing? What do you say to the tourist board, to the Tourist Development Authority,
I
to
think
the Minister of Tourism?
They need to talk to all stakeholders. Talking to certain stakeholders is not going to solve this problem for us. Everybody needs to be, big and small operators should be involved in this. People like us, there are a lot of people who are suffering in this industry. So when you say you're going to suddenly raise your VAT threshold from 0 to 15%, don't they think this tourism industry, how will they survive? How will the players survive? If it's booming, I definitely agree. Maybe even more if we are tourism.
So have you as an organization, I mean an association, made representation?
Say, we have done what we can. We are in various organizations and we have done what we can. But this is a issue that people who are right at the top must look into and see how we can resolve this problem for us. Otherwise, we have a situation where we are losing people. See, another problem is people change over. They come for maybe 6 months, then there's some problem, then some man will take over, another man. So what is the short-term plan for tourism? What is the mid and what is the long-term plan? We need those plans to be very clear. I was reading recently and somebody told me they are working with the Digital Marketing Association of Sri Lanka. Good thing. because they're trying to promote Sri Lanka digitally. So you will get a WhatsApp message about Sri Lanka, you will send it to 30 or 50 people, that 50 will send it to another 150, and it will go on like that. It's on a digital platform. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So there are a few good things that are happening, but they also have to look at the ground reality. What is the ground reality? Look at the fuel. There is a fuel.
That's a national problem, though.
Yeah, so we'll say the man who goes to Colombo and back can manage.
Yeah.
And that is in order. What about the tourist drivers? They say that they're giving it. They say they will give it. There are various avenues that they're trying to do. At the end of it, the reality is they don't have it in place. So you ask somebody, he will say he has to buy it in the black market. What happens when he makes two problems? One is you're making people corrupt to sell it in the black market. Number two is he's got to pay that, he's got to take it out.
So this system of giving
the fuel quota on that
to the tourist drivers,
it's not working fully. At the moment, no, it's not working completely. There are, I don't know, because they have not registered with the tourist board or what the issues are. They need to look at that and say, how can we resolve this problem? So, like, you know, the going overseas and promoting and getting a brand ambassador and fine.
I want to ask you this. We were talking about spending money on marketing. What's happened to the tourist levy? Is that being spent in a good way, or is that also?
Well, that's part of the promotions that they're doing.
Okay.
So right
is that
now,
good? Are they spending the money well in your
promotions? In my view, for us, the promotions are happening. But whether the money is all spent on that promotion, we don't know. I don't know. I must tell you, I don't know that. Yes, they are doing promotions, but as much as they do promotions, they should take that budget and help the people who don't have proper infrastructure. Look at the trains. Now they have
Now they do have a wonderful train service between the first class train service. Going to Jaffna, we couldn't go because of the 20 litre allocation per week. So you needed up and down about 60 litres. We couldn't do that, so we took the train. Going up, the first class, all first class, one class of service was pretty good. They could have made some improvements. They could have had a restaurant, a dining car, and perhaps the facilities could have been a bit.
So I take the train maybe twice a month because we have one in Jaffna and one in Kandy, and I do a lot of work, by traveling on the train. I've seen that the trains are good, but the trains are not clean. And the trains have to be clean. You're right, they have to have a proper canteen on that, like a cafe. They can easily get a company that has decent fast food to run it. They don't need to run it themselves. There are enough nice companies that will be glad to run it because the trains are full. So they'll make money on that. The last train I went on was we all know that the washrooms are not the greatest for us. So we need to get those things in place if we are trying to promote tourism and the trains, because it is possible to promote it. But right now there's a big gap there, and it's a quick fix. It's not a problem to fix that. You just need discipline.
And the Tourist Board recently announced, I think, that they would be giving licenses for soft liquor, like beer licenses, to anyone registered with.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question for us, but
I must ask it because I went to this property in Jaffna, and we weren't able to get anything, and we were told that. So I thought it was a natural question.
Right. So let me tell you, leave that aside for the moment, and let's say we're trying to promote tourism. So you put up a hotel which is 600 million rupees, a basic hotel, 700 million rupees, and you apply for a liquor license. We'll say you take Jaffna, where we applied, and you give all your documents, and then they come back at the end of 2 months and they say you can't get a liquor license because you are so many meters to a religious organization or a school or whatever. It's mainly a religious organization in Jaffna. Now for us, in Jaffna, there is a Kovil every 50 meters or 100 meters. That's Jaffna. That is part of that culture, the culture of Jaffna. There's nothing wrong. Everything is. So they tell you because of that you can't. So the man who comes, and Jaffna, you know, the whole day out, it's all about the foreigners and the Sri Lankans even who go there, looking around and, you know, embracing all the love that there is in Jaffna.
Yes.
Then you come back and you can't have a beer. The reason being we are too close to a COVID or whatever. Right.
I'll let you carry on and explain this very important topic in a minute after we go and listen to the primetime news headlines from the Newsfirst primetime news team. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukutali.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Anka eke araksita itigini petti. Surya gini petti.
Human Rights Commission investigates the tragic death of a schoolboy in Kurunegala. Sri Lanka's 22nd constitutional amendment gets clearance from Supreme Court, but some clauses need special majority or referendum. Sri Lankan opposition asks government to table IMF deal in parliament. United National Party celebrates 76 years. Mahinda Ananda reveals cause for fertilizer crisis.
මම කෘෂිකර්ම ඇමතිවරයා හැටියට දියුණු දෙනකොට මේ පොහොර විෂය මට නෑ. මට තියෙන්නේ කෘෂිකර්ම දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ කෘෂි රක්ෂණ මණ්ඩලය විතරයි. පොහොර සඳහා වෙනම ඇමතිවරයෙක් ඉන්නවා රාජ්‍ය ඇමතිවරයෙක්.
Social Security Contribution Levy Bill adoption delayed due to opposition protest.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Anka eke araksita itigini petti. Surya gini petti.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukutali.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. I'm in conversation with the CEO of Fox Resorts, veteran hotelier Chris Quyn. Now, I think, Chris, we were talking about your trials and tribulations of getting a liquor license. So are you telling me that, like many things, many policy decisions made by the government of Sri Lanka, that there's a whole lot of talk and no delivery?
Well, it's like this. Let me explain what happened on this, and then the viewers can make up their own mind. So we apply for a license. We don't get it because they say you're so many meters from a COVID.
But I mean, this is reflective not only of your property, but everyone.
All properties who face the same thing.
Yeah.
So let's say we have to live with that because it's a cultural thing, and the COVID is there, right? As citizens of this country will live with that. But the law changes if you have spent $2 million on your property. So if we spent 1.3 or 1.4, if you have spent $2 million, then that law doesn't apply. Now, where on earth would you get a law like that which says the money you spend overrides if you're in front of a COVID or not? You tell me, Farah. You tell me.
It's almost like an ecclesiastical tax.
That is absolutely stupid.
Wow.
Absolutely stupid. I mean, they can't have laws like this. And if some minister comes and says, oh no, this was 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you change it. Otherwise, don't become a minister. If you can't do it, you can't. So these are the problems we face. Then Harin Fernando gave us super. He said, fine, if you are registered with the tourist board and you paid all your dues, you will get a soft liquor license, which is wine and beer, which I was fine. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So we go and we say we want to get this liquor license from the tourist board. Okay, so you have to get a letter from them saying that you have been rejected. And why have you been rejected? Then I have to take that, and I have to go to the excise department.
Right. I
have to go there. So I did it myself because I wanted this so badly. So I didn't give it to a peer, no, I didn't give it to a manager, anybody. I said, I will do it myself. So I took this now and went to the excise department. So you go and you say, you've come with this letter, they ask you to take a seat. About 2 hours later, they say, okay, you can go and pay this money. So you go there to pay this money. We don't want to say what time and what happens at that time. So anyway, we wait, and ultimately there are 2 others with us, with me, and then I go and pay this money. Then I have to pay this, get this receipt and come back to another guy and show him that. Then he'll give me another form about an hour later, and then he will say, right now this is what has to be filled, go fill this and take it to Jaffna. Jaffna Excise Department. So now after about a week I have done this, I have filled it and I have gone and given it to the Excise Department, which he says now he will work on it.
Will you be holding your breath?
Well, I hope this happens, but you know, whether we get it or not, why could it be? You are registered with the tourist board, you paid all your dues, here is your liquor license. Or you go there, you get, and here is your liquor license.
But you're near biting point, they're about to give it to you.
Yeah, for us, but why go round and round? You know, this is some of the problems that are very frustrating.
Now tell me, it's almost been interesting listening to that bit. But now tell me, how you, on a practical note, how are you coping with the economic crisis and the import crisis? So are you promoting more local produce? We had a brilliant cool in Jaffna,
the Jaffna cool,
which is very good. But I also noticed that they offered us lots of local, juices and so on. Is that the way forward in the industry?
We always had Jaffna as a hotel where we will promote the Jaffna cuisine.
Right.
For the simple reason, if you go to another country, sometimes they only promote their cuisine, which is unique to that country.
Yeah.
So Jaffna is special for us.
Okay.
So if you have, even the foreigners love to taste the Jaffna food. They don't come here to taste the other food, the Western food.
Right.
99% will want the Jaffna food, and we always promoted the Jaffna food. So we are not hit by that in a very big way. We are able to manage in Jaffna because we are still, that is.
Also know that the largest privately owned hotel group, or mainly privately owned, they also promote Sri Lankan fruits and so on.
Yes.
And one of the reasons is because of the import problem.
Yes. So even in Kandy, our property, we promote the local stuff. But I think as tourism, as an industry, you need to have some imported items, especially for the Colombo hotels. You can't manage. As you know, there is a shortage of butter. You can't get butter freely, so you have to butter. You can't get milk freely.
How are you jump starting this thing? Is the industry offering special offers? How are you enticing the local tourism?
We have always had the local tourism helping us or coming to our rescue during these issues.
Do you forget about them when the tourists arrive?
Never. I think everybody knows that Fox, and I have been a very strong person to say, always give the Sri Lankans something different and something special. So we've always had that, and that's why even now 90% of our business is all Sri Lankans, and we run decent occupancy. We make decent money by giving value for money. So the Sri Lankans had always had an advantage. I'll never ever kick the Sri Lankans out. We'll always keep a certain percentage, even if we are running full with foreigners. There has to be a certain percentage for the Sri Lankans. The Sri Lankans also are there to spend, and they love to come and have a good time.
I want to ask you this question. As you know, we've as the whole country knows, we've had protests about the mismanaged economy and so on. Do you think that these protests, the peaceful protests, have impacted negatively on our tourism industry?
I don't think the peaceful protests would have had an impact on tourism. In my mind, no. For us, I can't tell you that anybody has said because of the protest we didn't come.
Have you had any cancellations saying, look, all these protests are going on, thank you very much, but no thank you, we're not coming?
No. To be honest, nobody has ever said that.
Right.
So we have not had that. Whether people looked at that and said, we'll wait till this is over, because at some time or the other it got very, very intense. And there were days which the whole country basically came to golf face, and that was spread around the world. And there might have been people who said, we'll just wait until things get back to normal. But
we bounced back after the Easter bombings very, very quickly.
Yes, see, that was an issue where it was an unfortunate attack against the civilians. And people wanted to come and visit Sri Lanka to help us out as long as it was safe. And it was kind of safe. It was same with the war that happened. Where as long as they felt safe, they came. Here it's different. It's the economy that has crashed. It is a bigger problem than what we used to have earlier for us. So this is something that now we need to look at and see how are we going to move out of this.
That's it. So there's been no negative impact. So tell us, in the last 4 minutes, how do we move forward? What would you like, instant action, quick fix, not some policy, but an action plan? What should Harin Fernando, leading the tourism sector, be doing?
I feel they need to have some data to say which countries will be a quick fix, which countries will bring us business in the next 2-3 months till end of this year, October, November, December. We've already lost that window, because if you look at the window would have been June to November. But June to November, all these things happened. Coming up to September, we lost all that. Now we need to see what are the countries that will be a quick fix for us.
As a operator of a business in the Northern Peninsula, would you welcome the actual reopening of the Palali airport?
I would, definitely. I think it's a huge step if we can get that done. There are talks that it's happening. You'll get a lot of traffic moving from Colombo to Jaffna and back, because you get a lot of people who want to travel, business plus leisure. You'll have a lot of people coming from India as well, and that's a massive market. So
and India, before all this happened, the Indian visitors to Sri Lanka were the number one visitors to our country.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's something we have to look at, and we have to get going. I think they need to walk the talk, basically. Everybody says they want to do this, we will do this, but it takes months to get carried out. So
are they quoting security concerns?
No, I don't think so. There is no security concerns in Jaffna. I think it's a lovely place, and you can go and just do whatever you want, enjoy yourself. There's a certain cultural aspect to it, and you respect that culture, and you work on what you have to do, and people are just great over there.
So you don't see any security risk?
No, there isn't.
So, and is it frustrating that you all these little rules and so on is actually impacting the business? They could actually have a better train service. They could actually have the airport opened up for international traffic between Palali and Chennai and so on and so forth.
Definitely. I think that one is they need to make sure that these things are done. There is a time plan, and that they work on that time plan and make sure that the industry gets ahead as quickly as possible, because we need the money for this. The country needs the money, and this is one area that they can get the dollars in. It's not something that we have to wait for too long for us. So that's what it is. We need to get the money. And
these special offers, I've got several messages. Thank you very much for all your messages. 0772 300 305. Lots of them are asking you, are you actively promoting local tourism?
Yes, undoubtedly yes. We buy the train tickets for the local parties. We pick them up from the railway station, we drop them back at the station. We do that. We have advertised it, it's on our website, and I can hand on heart say actively we promote Sri Lankans, and they have a huge advantage.
Oh my goodness. Ben and company will be mortified because we didn't realize that, and we did all sorts of other things.
Yeah.
But Chris Quyn, wish you all the very best in your endeavors to up the game for and on behalf of the people of Sri Lanka. And we hope that the tourists will return in droves and enjoy and make memorable memories in Sri Lanka. Do you think that's possible?
That's possible for us. We have the hotels, we have the staff, we have the beaches, we have everything. We just need the tourists to come back, and somebody needs to bring them back, and that's it. Thank you for having me on the show, Faraz.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. And it's now time for the primetime news from News First. Take care, and as always, God bless you all.